wondering, Minister Guilbeault, if you could explain what you were saying to senators that you've been talking to about Bill C-234 and how many senators you've been speaking to about it.
Thank you very much, Mia. A couple of things on that. First and foremost, people should remember, and if Pierre Poilievre had any sense of moral decency, he would admit that we've already excluded 97% of fuels used on farms because at the time when we put in place carbon pricing in Canada, the price on pollution, we realized that there was no alternatives for these applications. So the price on pollution in the agricultural sector only applies to 3% of fuels that are being used, where alternative technologies are available, and we've in the case of grain drying, for example, and we've provided more than $500 million of funding to support farmers in that transition. Number one. Number two, we're against the creation of a new exemption. We were against Bill C-234 when it was in the House of Commons. We voted against it. So I have had conversations with, I don't know, maybe half a dozen, give or take, senators in the course of the last 2 weeks. But people should remember that since 2015, there are a handful, but only a handful of liberal senators. The senators we've nominated as a government since 2015 are independent senators. The only person who tells senators what to do and how to vote is Pierre Poilievre. We don't do that. So I've had conversations with some of them to explain our position and why we don't support that bill. But this is what they've been. They've been conversations.
The Senate last week voted down some amendments that I think would have reduced the scope of that legislation. And now, I guess the final thing is the third vote. What will the government do if that bill passes? You're against further exemptions, but if that bill passes, this would be a new exemption, right? So what would you do if that happens?
We'll see what the Senate decides, and then we'll need to make our own decision as to how we act once the final decision by the Senate has been made, which hasn't been the case.
Pardon me, we'll continue to the next question. Davis Legree, iPolitics, go ahead.
Hi, thanks very much. I just wanted to kind of stay on that point of Bill C-234. Mr. Guilbeault, you said you had conversations with 6 senators just to present your position. I was wondering if you could maybe explain or tell us if they were receptive to your position and perhaps what end result you expect for the bill when the Senate comes back after the break week.
I said roughly 6. I don't have the list in front of me, but so 6 is probably not the exact number. As I said to your colleague Mia, I explained to them that the reasons why we don't support the bill C-34, and I hope that was in the context of the amendments that were being proposed, and the senators that I have spoken to were in favor of those amendments. So it was more of a conversation than a lobbying effort on my part. And I was asking them if they needed more information from my office as to the reasons why we don't like this bill. But it was really the nature of those conversations.